Welcome back to Kossi's Arsenal podcast. My name is Kossi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. We are in the international break. That means a lot of transfer rumors are going to be flying around here and there on a few performances, on a few players that are really working well during the international break, but also on squads like Arsenal, Manchester United, Chelsea, squads that are really in transition, squads that are still building. We are going to be linked with so many players. So in this video, I want us to dive into all the transfer rumors around Arsenal at the moment. NEWS.Tielemans has spoken out on missing out on the Arsenal project, and he said, look, it had to be the right project. So probably thought Arsenal were not the right project. Talk about that. Mudryk, 60 million euros, according to Nicolo Schira, is the price that has been set by Shakhtar Donetsk, and of course a few other players linked with Arsenal, including Manchester United midfielder Donny van der Beek. For Donny van der Beek, I'm quite excited because I feel Arsenal are the right destination for Donny. That is if Mikel Arteta thinks the same way, Edu thinks the same way, and of course all the transfer board think like that. Hit the like button for me. Let's get this video to 300 likes. Subscribe to the podcast as well. We're very close to 60,000 subscribers. Now, let's start off with NEWS.Tielemans. Of course, he's on international duty. He had an interview. I think a few players are having interviews, by the way, on our international duty. It means more content for me. I just like it. So, Tielemans was asked about a few things that we won't dive into, the Leicester City situation currently. But most importantly, he was asked whether he regrets the decision not to leave Leicester City and also what really happened. And he said, look, in the summer, I wanted to move on, but it had to be the right project. That is what he said. It had to be the right project in the summer, for me to join. So literally, there was no right project that came onto his door. Look, I think it's kind of a lie. I think he's trying to be respectful here to Leicester City and the Leicester City fans. They're in a very, very precarious situation. They're in a very dangerous situation. So you don't want your players to be snitching around their future and saying they're unsettled. They were very close to leaving the club and all that. But the fact that he's not going to be renewing his contract only shows you his heart is known at Leicester City. Probably not at Arsenal anymore because we had talks with him since January. We never made a bid. That is kind of a disappointment. And for me, look, I kind of agree with NEWS.Tielemans. If a club doesn't want to sign you, then they are never the right project for you. Because if it's the right project, then they have scouted you as a potential talent. Then they have to make a bid. The moment they keep on strolling around and wasting time, they're never the right project. So Tielemans says in the summer he didn't get any right projects approaching him, and that's why he decided to stay at Leicester City. It's a very difficult situation at Leicester right now. He says it's not easy for him to speak about the situation, but that is what he said. So I don't want to go on about that. I think it's a transfer Arsenal will not revisit, honestly. Tielemans, I don't think we will actually revisit that. Yes, there are some rumors that Arsenal could consider a January switch. There are some rumors that Arsenal will try to sign him on a free. We'll see how everything goes on. I'll be keeping you posted, especially when Romano speaks about this one. But it's one where I feel whether or not Tielemans will make a switch in January or even in the summer, and it might be to a club like Newcastle. The fact that Newcastle are interested in him, I think Odihall is one manager that can manage the talent of NEWS.Tielemans. We've already seen it with Bruno Guimaraes. We've seen it with the likes of Joe Willock. We've seen it with the likes of Isaac and Steven Botman, Nick Pope as well. Their project is growing steadily. It has a lot of quality. And one thing I've liked about them is when they're signing players, they mean it. They're signing players with a lot of intent. They're signing players with a lot of cautiousness. So it's a very, very good project at Newcastle. Tielemans will never play for Arsenal. I don't see it happen anymore. It's the same with Douglas Luiz. I think there were buys for that summer. The fact that we didn't go for them, I'm really, really interested to see what Arsenal's transfer list is going to be now. Now, talking about transfer lists and what they are going to be, Mudryk is another name that is still hanging around the Arsenal transfer business. Nicolo Schira today has come out and said there's so many English clubs interested in Mikhailo Mudryk. Newcastle is the newest member. I told you this that when you want a player, the profile of Moussa Diaby, Mikhailo Mudryk, Houssem-Aouar, Lucas Paqueta, and all that, that kind of bracket, not very expensive, still young, can play anywhere. There is a lot of competition than you can imagine. Because Mikhailo Mudryk is not the player that is being scouted by only the top sides. You have the likes of Brentford, the likes of Everton. You have the likes of Leeds United, all looking at him and promising him, join us and we will make you one of the best talents in the world. Actually, I've seen a few comments around him. People comparing him to Vini Jr., Neymar, Mbappe, and all that category. So you understand the kind of hype around him. So Nicola says, clubs are interested in him. Of course, that means Arsenal are still interested in the player. But Fabrizio Romano today has said there is nothing has changed with Shakhtar Donetsk on Mikhailo Mudryk. They won't be accepting any 30 million euro bids. Everton, Brentford have already seen bids rejected. Currently with Arsenal, there is huge interest. Talks are ongoing with the agent of the player, but Shakhtar Donetsk are expecting a bid in excess of 50 million euros. Quite similar to what Nicola Schirra has put out. The difference here is that Romano goes into deeper details to tell you that you have talks held with the agent of the player. Talks are still ongoing since January to find a consensus. Now, this one is a difficult one. I spoke about it last week, and I'm going to say almost very, very similar words. It's a difficult transfer because he's now playing in Europe. Madrid are having a very, very good time now with Fede Valverde. But honestly, I think they could do with an addition on the wings. They could do with an addition. Get rid of Eden Hazard. Get rid of Marco Asensio, and then a player like Mikhailo Mudryk is going to be 100% on their radar. Honestly, trust me. If they decide to go for a player wide forward, and of course a few other clubs, AC Milan, if they tend to lose Rafa Leao to Chelsea probably in January. I've had the links are being strengthened by Chelsea. So if they lose Rafa Leao, Mikhailo Mudryk is another player to look at, and a few other big clubs around Europe. The question, does he move in January? We've answered that last week, and my answer is no. He doesn't move in January. They're already doing well in the UEFA Champions League. I don't see them drop out at the preliminaries, right? Not at that stage. So probably it's going to be round of 16 or the quarterfinals. That is when you expect Shakhtar Donetsk to be eliminated from the Champions League. And when you go deeper into the Champions League, we all know what it means. It means money. It means cash. It means more dividends. So I don't see Shakhtar selling Mikhailo Mudryk while they advance deeper into the Champions League. I think this one is one for the summer. If Arsenal planning on this in the summer, very, very prudent move. If it is January, it's going to be a cinema. It's going to be not a horror movie. I think it's going to be kind of a thriller. We sit down, we enjoy, and in the end, we want to see where it ends. Because in January, there are not so many clubs that can rival Arsenal for Mikhailo Mudryk. The likes of Madrid tend not to spend in January, apart from loan deals. The likes of FC Barcelona as well, I think Barca are fine. Everton, Brentford, they can do with the January signing, but not a 60 million euro signing. So that is the only advantage Arsenal have on this one. If Shakhtar can drop out of the UEFA Champions League, lose their next two games, I really struggle to find that group in the UEFA Champions League. They have Leipzig, they have Madrid, right? Leipzig, Madrid, and Celtic. Okay, yeah, those are the three opponents. So their next two games are Madrid at home, that is in Donetsk, and then Madrid in Spain. The question is, can they get results from both of those games, or from any of those games? If they can pick up 3 points against Real Madrid, a Madrid side we know that are quite difficult to beat in the UEFA Champions League. If they can pick up points against Madrid, they will advance. This is my prediction. They will advance to the round of 16. if they fail to pick up any points against Real Madrid, they might not advance. They might fall into the Europa League. But again, still, if they fall down into the Europa League, they'll fancy their chances of going into the semi-finals or even the finals. So it's a difficult one to see happen in January. Mikhailo Mudryk, but the cinema and the stage have been set. So all we have to do, keep on watching and keep on enjoying the drama. Let's see where that one ends. Romano says Arsenal, they are still there in talks. I believe we are leading the rest. I mean, I don't see any other club leading the rest currently. If they want 60 million euros, I don't know. Talk to me in the comment section. Is it worth 60 million euros? Is it worth that amount? That's another big question. Because leave it on the hype. Grealish got the hype and he signed for Manchester City at 100 million euros. And this is hilarious. When pundits look at these deals happening, City paying 100 million euros for Grealish, all they write about and all they say, this is how good Grealish is. This is how good Nicola Pepe is. This is how good Harry Maguire is. When these players don't meet the expectations and demands of their price tags, they'll come and say, like Simon Jordan said on TalkSport yesterday, Grealish is never a 100 million player. Where were you to say this 3 years ago, 2 years ago, when these deals were actually happening? So is he 60 million euros? Is it worth that? Mikhailo Mudryk? Big question. I won't say no. I know I've criticized him in the summer a lot because of his lack of experience. And look, I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong if I have Reece Nelson, who's coming from who has more appearances than Mikhailo Mudryk all over the continent. I'm not wrong to dispute him, especially when you have options to sign in Pedro Neto, options to sign in Moussa Diaby, well established on Europe, well established at their respective clubs as well. So Mikhailo Mudryk, let's wait and see. Yeah, let's wait and see. That is all I'm gonna say about Mikhailo Mudryk. Now, the other player that will excite you, that has been linked heavily, we've talked about him on the channel in the last 48 hours, is Jesper Lindstrom, 22-year-old Danish midfielder. I've given you the basics around him: attacking midfielder, central striker, and left winger as well. That is what he offers. Market value is around 25 million euros. Plays for Eintracht Frankfurt. He is a winner already. Has that Europa League last campaign with Frankfurt, and currently plays in the UEFA Champions League. Arsenal have been linked with this one as one of the solutions to a wide forward. Now, we're in a tricky situation here, and I can see what Arsenal, Etu, and Mikel Arteta are trying to do. They're trying to find any possible ways to deal with squad depth issues. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to be very prudent. We're trying to be resilient. We're trying to be strong so that we can, walk through and stand, this kind of, storm that is coming, our way. Fixtures piling up. Jesper Lindstrom has been linked with a couple of clubs, not only Arsenal. So that is a positive as well. A few other clubs are actually interested in him. I don't know much about the guy. I cannot lie. I've seen him on a few occasions, like 4, playing for Eintracht Frankfurt. So that is all I know about him. That is the only time I've actually seen him. But one thing I'm going to say, 25 million euros, he's worth the risk. That is what I'm going to say. If Arsenal are looking for squad depth, because Jesper Lindstrom, these kind of signings have one thing or two. One is they're highly not going to work out, honestly, right? Unless Arsenal have scouted him for quite some time. But I don't think he's been on our radar for a very long time. I think he's one of those where Edward and Mikel Arteta are discussing, can we do it in January? And they've gone, yes, we can, right? I just think Marco Asensio would be a better bargain, not even a bargain, but a better risk to take in January, because Marco Asensio, you sign him in January for 3 years, and then you see what happens, because he's more proven. So Jesper Lindstrom, not much, but the fact that he's central striker and an attacking midfielder and then left winger just guarantees him the profile of players Mikel Arteta wants. He wants players that are very versatile. He wants players that are very, very technically gifted. Now, I say this the last time, that the fact that he plays in that, in that counter-attacking system at Eintracht Frankfurt makes him a Mikel Arteta favorite for the wide positions. You look at all the players we're looking at. Look at Pedro Neto. Wolverhampton Wanderers will sit back. Yes, they love holding possession, but they will always sit back and they will wait they will wait until the opponent has been drawn inside, and then they will release either of their wingers. That is Pedro Neto now and Goncalo Guedes, right? Or Daniel Podence. Depends on who has played wide. So I think that is where Jesper Lindstrom gets the advantage and draws the advantage. And again, attainable in January. That is if Eintracht Frankfurt believe they have no other option but to sell. And if they fall out of the UEFA Champions League quite early before January, they would kind of feel if anyone brings good money, we will sell. I don't think they will restrict him from going to his dream club or making his dream move to the Premier League. I don't think they will. The question is, how much will they be asking for? At 22, his contract running down in 2026, they might want to go for those big figures, 30, 35, 40 million euros. Because he still has a lot of time on his contract and is still very, very young. So, look, this one, if I were to make a prediction, I would say Arsenal will try on this one in January, but I won't be very surprised if this name doesn't even appear anywhere close to Arsenal. Now, Matt Moretto as well, we spoke about this in the morning show, has confirmed that Arsenal are interested in signing Adon Jashari from Lausanne. So he's 20, defensive midfielder, central midfielder. We talked about this. He would be one of those where Arsenal sign a player just to sit around and wait for Thomas Partey. Maybe provide competition to Albert Sambi Lokonga. Lokonga is a good player. Very, very technically gifted, good passer around the ball, very confident and all that. But in my opinion, pace, he lacks that kind of pace and he lacks that kind of, for me, decisiveness. In passing, he lacks those, dangerous passes to his game. He's developing slowly, so probably in the next 2-3 years, we might have a better player in Albert Sambi Lokonga. Now, I don't know nothing about this guy. I know nothing about Adon Jashari. Very, very scanty information about him. I will try to make my research about him, and then we'll do a video. Is he good? Does he even suit the Premier League? Does he suit Arsenal? I mean, just listening to the fact and idea that he's coming from Switzerland at Lausanne just convinces me that he should be playing for Brentford. Just convinces me that he should be playing for Brighton. I think he will need that kind of, process. Lausanne, Switzerland, then probably German Bundesliga, then probably German Bundesliga Gladbach, German Bundesliga Dortmund, and then you come into the Premier League and all these other leagues. But straight from the Swiss League to the Premier League to a club like Arsenal, that is a huge step. That would be a very, very huge step. And it would be quite unfair. Honestly, it would be quite unfair on the lad. And finally, Arsenal have been offered the chance to sign Donny van der Beek by his representatives. Now, we've talked about Donny van der Beek as one of the players that I really, really like. And I'm going to do a full video about him. Should Arsenal consider him? I want to do a video about Jude Bellingham as well. I think we should throw ourselves in there, by the way. With Donny, offers are going to be listened to by Manchester United and all that. But with Jude Bellingham, everyone is trying. So we should try. Yeah, I've seen the 150 million euro price tag is absolutely outrageous. But we should try. Nevertheless, we should try. I'll speak to you in the next one. Follow me on Twitter, Kosi Arsenal, Instagram, Kosi_19, and on TikTok, Kosi Talks Football. See you then.